Oh my goodness. Good morning, beautiful people. This is for our people who are present live this morning on Zoom and for our people who are perhaps listening to our recording. I am Vicki Jeter, your practitioner spiritual director for Louisville Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Chapter. And first and foremost, happy Valentine's Day. Today is Valentine's Sunday. And actually, there are many things going on today. And I just want to offer a little general awareness of how much energy there is moving today, because today is also Super Bowl Sunday. And that just gives everybody a lot to think about celebrating. And we open this service with a prayer. So I want to just invite you to fully arrive as I open this prayer. And you'll notice this is going to be a little unique because of some other things that are going on in the world that I elected to find a little support for how to say. And that will unfold gradually. Settling in, I open this service with a prayer, and I open this prayer with the most potent words that we can speak. Thank you. Thank you, Spirit, for the gift of this day that opens the package for adventures and opportunities for good and more good in our lives, regardless of human appearances. And in addressing some of those appearances that we want to embrace with our whole human hearts, on behalf of our regard for the victims of the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, the Dalai Lama says, there is a saying in Tibetan, tragedy should be utilized as a source of strength. No matter what sort of difficulty or how painful the experience, if we lose hope, there is our real disaster. You are called to be a hand to the fallen, a crutch for the broken, a healing presence for the sick. You are called to step out of your comfort zone and into the valleys of that which appears hopeless, like a lighthouse illuminating the darkest corners of the earth. And that's from Helwa. Now, with all of that in mind, we might say, what do we really have to offer? All the way here on the other side of the planet, where we're not buried under rubble, where the vast majority of us have somewhere that we can get for shelter, have some hope of finding clean water and food. What do we really have to offer? Actually, Ram Dass tells us everything. It turns out we have everything we can offer because it starts from the inside out. Within each one of us is that essence of being from which all things come. Call it God, call it life energy, call it universal consciousness. When we're helping another, they feel that they are not isolated beings. They feel us there with them, and that we are all in this together. And it is on this word that I open this prayer even more deeply and widely to say, let us know that within us, we are doing that which we would do if we could on a human level. And when we know that which we are doing within, seeing these people be assisted, seeing ourselves assisting them, finding them shelter, offering them water and blankets and food, and helping them find their pets and their loved ones. When we see ourselves doing this, we are doing this in consciousness. And when we know that the resource of the universe is limitless to manifest that which can actually do it, then it is done. And so I am knowing that this is our conviction this morning, that even as we celebrate Valentine's Day, and even as we celebrate and hug each other virtually, and even as we celebrate something as fun as the Super Bowl, that this too is going on within us, that we are in this space of being with those who don't quite have right now what we have. And so it is with gratitude that we take all of these opportunities. And in that thanksgiving, I simply say, I release it into the law, allowing it to be manifest. I let it be, and so it is. Amen. And officially, I welcome each and every one of you with my whole heart to Louisville Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Chapter. And I actually open my morning prayers before this service to welcome the day and the week ahead, lighting our God candle, which is actually being held between the balloon and the cherub there. And I hope that that candle, the light of that candle, is the first thing that you see when you come into our Zoom room. Welcome you, we do, no matter what denomination you came from, or what brought you here, or how you were brought up, or even if this is your very first faith experience. All are welcome here. And most importantly, we want you to know that you are welcome here. Now, for our mission and vision statements, the mission of Louisville Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Chapter is to teach personal transformation as a virtual community, living the principles of science of mind, and celebrating all paths to God. And our vision statement is simply a world that honors and respects all people. Now, last Sunday, we finished the affirmations that come from our Declaration of Principles that we also know as what we believe. And I'm realizing that this is a very potent space. So this space on Sundays is becoming applications of what we believe. And so for today, the application of what we believe is there is an irresistible, universal, and divine urge within us to be happy, to feel whole, and to express the fullness of life. And this comes from Ernest Holmes. I was so excited because the title of this book by Ernest Holmes is Applications of Principle, and I didn't know he had a book called The Applications of Principle, so I'm very excited about that. And now, our opening song, There Is Only Love, by Miss Karen Drucker.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet There is only, there is only, there is only love. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. It's the love that heals, the love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love.
There is only love. I adore Karen Drucker and her heartfelt and warm music that always just lifts me up. I'm grateful to start our morning with such a beautiful song together. So for our morning reading, I'll be sharing 3 quotes that I will then weave into our morning meditation. Excuse me. The first quote, on Valentine's Day, open the eyes of your heart to see the evidence of God's love all around. Wait in silence. Simply witness without critique. Gradually take all of it in. Welcome what is. Ask your inner witness where it sees love in the moment. Let your heart see that you are part of the divine reality of love. The author's unknown. Let's take a moment of silence to reflect on letting our hearts see that you are a part of the divine reality of love. You are part of the divine reality of love. The second quote, there are no ordinary moments. Everything you'll ever need to know is within you. The secrets of the universe are imprinted on the cells of your body. That is from Dan Millman. Reflecting on everything you will ever need to know is within you. And the third quote, the minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you. Not knowing how blind that was, lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along. And that's from Rumi. Lovers are in each other all along. For our morning meditation, it's such a gift for me to share my heart with you through this meditation. I have created this with inspiration from Melissa Pierce. I would like to invite you to deepen your awareness into the present moment, right here and right now. Please adjust your body to get comfortable and settled into your seat. When you're comfortable, please close your eyes or lower your gaze. Bring your attention to your breathing. Notice your lungs filling with oxygen. Allow the breath to expand as you breathe in deeply. Take a nice deep breath in and breathe out. Focus your attention on breathing in love. Allow the love to flow through your body. Everything you'll ever need to know is within you. The secrets of the universe are imprinted on the cells of your body. Now bring your attention to any sounds in your environment. Are you hearing your breath or the airflow in your environment? Listen to the sounds around you, including my voice. Listen for the words and sounds of love in both your internal being and external environment. Take a moment of silence to truly listen. Bring your attention to your intuition. With curiosity, listen carefully to your internal guidance system as it lovingly guides you. Allow your curiosity to guide you to a clarity of purpose for you. Listening to your intuition and internal guidance system that continues to lead you deeper into living a purposeful and loving life. Bring your awareness to the beat of your heart within your body. If you would like, place your hands on your heart to feel your heartbeat pulsing. Notice the love in your heart. Feel the love expanding throughout your body. Feel the love expanding to all aspects of yourself. Feel the love expanding to others. Open the eyes of your heart to see the evidence of God's love all around. Let your heart see that you are a part of the divine reality of love. With your eyes closed, focus on the love you might see in your mind's eye. Envision yourself and those you love in your life. Visualize those that you care for and deeply love. See the love. Hear the love. Feel the love right now as you embody the love. With love, bring your attention to the back of your eyelids. Notice the light shining through your eyelids. Gently and lovingly, bring your attention back to the room and open your eyes. And so it is. Amen. I am so grateful to see each of you this morning and the love that radiates from within you. Seeing the divine reality of love within each of you is such a gift. Love is a gift. I am honored to share this gift with each of you this morning. Our special music this morning is Do You See the Vision by DL. For this song, there will be no video. So for those of us in the Zoom room, we get this blessed opportunity this morning to see one another's faces as the song is playing and bring that connection of love and joy that we feel for one another. We get to experience that as we hear the beauty of this song. So it's Do You See the Vision by DL.
See the vision unfolding throughout the land, a powerful mission whose time is at hand, to join as a family related by a single goal, a loving community of like-minded souls who reach out to each other in every
Let's just take a breath and relax into that fabulous space. Relax into what you saw in each other's faces for just a minute. As we shift now to the central focus of our message, first, I want to remind us that this year is designated for living out loud. And that's just living fearlessly according to your authentic self. And our theme for February is curiosity as a superpower. And I just want to take just a moment. On Saturday, we were in the Saturday discussion call, and one brilliant being brought to that call, she said, I would like to know what your superpower is. And even if you don't quite know what that means, we're going to talk a little bit more about that maybe in sharing time. So just kind of think about, if I had a superpower with God, what would my superpower be? And then for today's presentation in the now is with our Rev Toni Lamotta, and I'll let her talk about what she's talking about. You guys can see it there on the screen. I just want to introduce Rev Toni, whom has been with us before. Those of you who were with us may remember that she brought us the Enneagram workshop and talk a few months ago at the end of 2022. And Rev Toni is also an advocate for spiral dynamics and the idea that leadership can be about a we space working together and having that vision of how we do that. And I do believe that that's part of what she will weave into what she's talking about today. So Rev Toni, I turn it over to you.
Thanks so much. It's always great to be here. So today I want to start by telling you that I believe in God. I guess you do too, or you wouldn't be here probably, but that means that I believe in possibility, and with this month's theme, constant curiosity. Because what I believe about God, that God is infinite and therefore ever expanding. There's a constant flow with God. There's always more. There's a model that I like to use when talking about life, and it's about a rectangular box with a piece that's still empty on the end. And we always stand on the edge of what's missing. And we need to be curious and go for the possibility. And as soon as we do, the rectangle enlarges and we then see the next possibility. And I believe that that's where we are in the New Thought movement. In the 1800s, there were several people who saw a new possibility. And actually what they did was go back to ancient wisdom, and they saw what was still relevant in the light of the new findings of psychology and science. So they filled in the corners of the rectangle that had been missing. And what's happening today is that we get to stand on the end once again of an even larger rectangle and begin to define, for a lack of a better term at the moment, I'm going to call it a new, even more integrated church or spiritual center. So does that help you become curious, hopefully? Today we're asking that age-old question, what's our reason for being? But here I want to ask, why do you come to a center like this? Do you know what the evolutionary purpose of this community actually is? And why do we need to constantly be redefining ourselves? Well, let's look for a moment at the history of religions. Most religions started with a man and had an immediate experience of God, and someone had an intellectual or mystical awareness. And that he, and it usually was a he, then developed into a message. The message then became a mission, and the mission gradually gathered people around until it became a movement. usually created by the followers. The trouble often begins when the original founder is gone, and out of fear, the movement starts to become a machine. They codify the words, they create a doctrine, they make sure it doesn't change, and eventually what remains becomes a monument to the man. You know, that's what happened to Christianity. People began to misinterpret the teachings of Jesus, to think they were supposed to memorialize him rather than follow him and live as he lived. And you know, unfortunately, there's sometimes a tendency in New Thought to do the same thing with Charles Fillmore and Ernest Holmes or Emerson or some of the other leaders. You know, New Thought must continue to be just that, new. The newest thinking of philosophy, of science, and religion. You know, because the founders of New Thought never intended us to teach them and what they taught, but they wanted us to do what they did. They were evolutionaries who believed in curiosity and continual emergence. You still with me? You know, so I want to assure you that I don't pretend to know that I have all the answers, but I give this stuff lots of thought. Ministers like to think about these kinds of things. And so I have a lot of questions and some ideas that I really want to share. So I think you have a week, right? No. Anyway, to be curious about creating a new, more integral church or community, first of all, we have to heal our relationship with the whole idea of church in the first place. And that's something I'm committed to helping people do. And that's a subject of at least a whole other talk. But what I know is that a new integrated kind of church is not about rules. It's not about structure. It's not about external authority. Mainly, it's about who its members are being and what's the real reason for their coming together and for their own being. And it boils down to freedom and responsibility. And this is a word I'm going to repeat a lot today. It's a community where we are all ministers. I'm going to say that again. It's a community where we are all ministers. So it's not just about coming together to form community and to receive a message or to feel good, although it's nice when that happens, obviously, but it's people who make commitments and take ownership rather than fulfill obligations. And finally, and I believe most importantly, when we individually and collectively become very clear in intention, when we each define our own I am, and then collectively define who we are, the behaviors that support will eventually define what wants to emerge. So what are some of those behaviors? First, I mentioned freedom and responsibility. So I have a couple of stories that I want to share that I think summarize what that means. There were two construction workers who ate lunch together every day. And every day, one of them would open his lunchbox and exclaim in disgust, "Peanut butter and jelly again?" And finally, the other inquired, "Why don't you ask your wife to fix something else?" "Oh, I'm not married," was the reply. "I make my own lunch." So with our thoughts, we create not only our own lunches, but our lives. And it's amazing today to me that the churches that seem to be growing most rapidly are the ones where the pastor or minister tells the people what to believe and what to do. You know, unfortunately, most people today accept being told what to do because they don't know how to make up their minds on what they really want. So some of us abdicate our freedoms when we let the world tell us what to believe, or when we allow our neighbors to set our patterns or our bosses to tell us how to live. And anytime we don't live the idea that consciousness is everything, what we're really saying is, I'd rather not be that free. You know, by the way we are living our lives, we're sometimes saying, I'd still rather think there's someone or something outside of me that causes things to happen. You know, it's the weather. Nah, it's my poor dysfunctional upbringing. I'm the way I am because of my parents. Anytime we hear ourselves saying it's them, or if this were only difference, we say that I don't want to be controlled by anything, and then we turn around and we say that those circumstances outside of me have to change in order for me to change. Isn't that ironic? I mean, we all do it. We even pray sometimes asking for circumstances to change. Oh God, fix this, change that, I need this, because we don't like the thought that we're the ones that have to change. So even think about the decisions. You think there are places individually or even collectively perhaps where you're letting life to happen and not deciding. If we don't make clear choices, life happens to us. And then we go around saying, I guess that's the way it's supposed to be. I think people even call it God's will. You know, it must be God's will, you know, especially when horrible things happen. I hate it when people say that's God's will. I don't have a God that does that, you know. So ask yourselves in life, where do you fear freedom? I know that sounds strange, but I'd like to suggest that those are the areas we haven't yet taken full responsibility. And so I have a second story. These movies, the movie came to this big city first, and then it finally arrived in this remote mining camp in the Rockies. Excuse me. The picture was announced, the tent was put up, the residents had never seen a movie before. The tent was packed with cowboys and miners. At a given moment during the show, at a given moment during the showing of this blood-curdling melodrama, the villain began to choke the heroine, and a cowboy in the front row pulled out his gun and he fired 6 shots at the villain. And everyone laughed because in those days, a gunshot didn't really mean that much. But there were a few bullet holes on the screen. And of course, the picture went on as scheduled. So why did we laugh at the cowboy? You know, I saw you all, you laughed. You know, what should he have done? Instead of firing at the screen, he should have fired at the projector, right? That would have stopped the picture. You know, whenever we look outside and point our finger, and hopefully you see where I'm going, the problem is out there. It's him, it's her, it's the system, whatever. We're shooting at the wrong target. We often try to change the outer things instead of changing the inner. So we're constantly firing at the screen instead of the projector. So nothing happens. It's a great illustration. You know, when we start to change our consciousness, we fire at the projector, and then things begin to change. So if you don't like the picture on the screen, you need to change the reel. So in the emerging new, what I'm calling integral church community, there can't be any looking at what another is doing or isn't doing, even in a particular role. Isn't that great? I mean, so it's not the minister or the spiritual leader. Vicki, you're free. So you got to let her completely off the hook and never ask if she's doing it right. And it's not the board either, by the way. It's nobody's fault. You know, what you see is who you are. So imagine the difference that life would make if you truly believe that you project every picture. And then you start to listen to everyone and everything that's happening in your life as a gift and a contribution. So I'm a teacher, so I like to give homework when I speak, so get ready here. This week, what I want you to do is practice living that. Every single thing that happens, whatever it looks like, if your child starts to say, but I don't want to, that's a contribution. It's a gift. An employee says, this won't work, you know, hear it as a contribution. Something that doesn't go as you planned, you know, it's a gift. You get ill. Ooh, that's a hard one. Can you stay curious and say, there's a gift? You know, 2 weeks ago, I had a car accident. And I want you to know I'm fine, but my car was not. It was totaled and taken away. And I am now living without a car. And you know what? I know my good is here, right now. If you stay in the time of contribution later, we'll talk about it a little more. I'll tell you all that's been happening. It's been amazing. And the gifts that keep showing up. Every circumstance, every person is really saying, I'm here in love to give you a gift. You know, one day when I was praying, I got this message. I get these voices. I hear voices in my ear. You don't want to hear that. Anyway, the voice said, anything that I have revealed in order to heal. So when something shows up in my life, I really get to say, yay, that's what's up for healing. And I'm inviting you to practice that as well. It's pretty amazing and challenging, I have to say, when things happen that I don't like the way they look in the external. I have to stop and say, here's a gift. Let me look for that gift. Imagine being part of a community where everyone knows that everything happening is simply a part of their own reflection. And then we start to get to see our own shadows at work. You know, it's interesting. I don't know how much you all know about Jungian shadows. That's a topic for another time. But, you know, there's no pointing fingers. And there's no politics. There's no place for someone who say they didn't need and you didn't and he didn't. And, you know, we can never complain. It's a place where we all continue to heal into who you're meant to be in the first place. You know, we can say by our very listening, I get who you are. I get who I am. And when I get that, I can hold you to be more truly who you are. You know, I also love Karen Drucker's music, and we used to sing one of her songs and point to each other. I don't know if you know, I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. It's just amazing the way it goes. What an exciting place that would be. And wouldn't you want to get up every Sunday morning and just be there? It would be impossible not to be. And I truly believe that our spiritual centers are a playground for life. It's the place where we can explore our gifts in a safe and loving environment. So when I say that, people always say to me, well, Toni, I don't have any gifts. Well, we all have gifts. So I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. In this new, more integral church, we're all ministers. You know, I remember when I first came into New Thought and people said, do you go to Wendy's church, or do you go to Kathy's church or Leo's church? And I looked dumbfounded because I'm a former Catholic and I went to God's church. We didn't call it Father Bill's or Father Harry's or anybody else's church. But I've really come to know over time that a spiritual center has to not be minister-centric. not based on the personality of the leader. And that's really interesting because in New Thought right now, depending on where you go, it's going to be different depending on the leader there. And you've got a great one, so there's no problem here. But it needs to be more purpose-centered. Why does this exist? Why does this community exist? And can we measure if we're living up to our purpose? Are we doing what we came here to do? I often ask, so what does it mean to be a minister anyway? I ask that question a lot. And I remember especially the week and the day before my ordination, I woke up that morning and I remember, going into church and saying, you are a minister. How did I become a minister? And I wasn't the day before. I mean, what does that mean? And you know what I found? I became a minister because I declared it. I said it. I am. And the community gathered around me and made that declaration public. So it was two things, my declaration and a community affirmation. So when someone new, and Jennifer's new here today, so she just comes to the center. If she says, who's the minister or spiritual leader, what are the rest of you going to answer? And I hope it's not Pat or Vicky. What you need to answer is introduce them to the rest of the congregation and not just the people who happen to be speaking that day. We're all called by God. There's absolutely nothing more important that I can convey to you than this. You are called. And somewhere we've gone wrong in making a strong delineation between the ordained and the laity, the priest and the people, the rabbi, the congregation. We are all ministers. God's given every one of us gifts. And with these gifts comes the responsibility to share that. Go back to Exodus chapter 19. Moses went up to God and Yahweh called to him from the mountain saying, say this to the house of Jacob, declare this to the sons and daughters of Israel. I will count you a kingdom of priests and a consecrated nation. So it wasn't just Moses, the esteemed leader. It wasn't just a select few, not the elders and the judges, but all the people. So in a vision of an integral church or spiritual center, we're all called into a covenant relationship with God. We're all priests, all rabbis, all ministers, all agents of compassion, reconciliation, and peace. How are you now responding to that covenant? Can you see yourself in that role? And can you deeply say, I am a minister, and this is how I serve? So what's the role of the spiritual leader in an organization? I love, Richard Bach once said, learning is finding out what you already know. Doing is demonstrating that you know it. And teaching is reminding others that they know it just as well as you. So we're all learners and doers and teachers. We all have the answers right within us. That's a hard one sometimes, to really believe that everything we need is right. The kingdom of God is within you. Everything we need. We often need curiosity and courage and support of the community to act on those answers, but we need to find ways to support and challenge one another. In the church that I served previously, when they were praying to find their minister, I was in California and I came all the way to Florida to candidate for that church. They had 30 people candidating and I got the job, but they were affirming every week that their minister inspires spiritual awakening. I love that. It was a great job description. And I believe that that's what a whole community is meant to do. I see ministry as gift-based rather than need-based. So you don't come to a church or a spiritual center simply to receive. Oh, of course, sometimes we do, but we come primarily to share our gifts in community. And spiritual communities don't have needs. People have needs. You've all heard announcements in church. The church needs someone to set up the coffee, but church needs this. But in a gift-based ministry, someone who has the need to serve steps forward, and then that becomes a ministry. It's very interesting. And that's what emergence is about. New things happen that way. But here's my point. Nothing is done because someone has to. In the integral model, all the external lists of shoulds and obligations are changed into choices and commitments. You know, and many people, when they hear the word commitment, say, I have too many commitments already. And frankly, I'm not sure what that means, because if you have too many, you're probably doing things from should. Interesting. Commitments don't overwhelm us ever. Not when we make them based on our choice of who we are being. When you figure out who you really are, the goals that you set no longer become have-tos. They even move beyond the level of want, and they come to the level of intention, or the level of I am. So here's my fourth point. The universe always supports our clear intentions. So if something isn't working in your life that you think you want, take a look at your commitment. Because commitments are the way we define ourselves. And so it's something we stick to and stick with no matter whether we feel like it or not. And we know we've made a commitment when everything starts to fall into place around us and in the area that we're committed to. Otherwise, we haven't made the commitment. Those of you who here last week heard Vernon and Vicki make a commitment, set an intention to be in control of their time, and you heard how the universe totally supported that. I love it. In other words, when you truly choose to be the person who can have or do or be what it is you say you want, you begin to live life very differently. And we actually don't have to do anything to see results. This is amazing. People show up. Things start happening. All the evidence shows up. Commitment is never about doing. It's about our statement of I am. It's about who we're being. So if you want a new job, you don't go to the newspaper and set out 100 resumes and wonder why nothing is showing up. Contrary to every seminar which teaches you to do that, you decide who you would have to be to have the job you want. And when you commit to that being, someone shows up, or you just happen to open the perfect want ad, or someone calls you out of the blue. Right, Vernon? That's what happens. Two people can do exactly the same thing and two entirely different results. You see, it's more in the attitude. It's who you're being as you're doing it, that in the doing that produces the results. And example, I have a friend who's a writer, and many people ask him, are you a writer? And he says, I will be when I'm published. You think he's ever going to be published? Frankly, I strongly doubt it with that attitude. When you come to know that you are a writer, then your books get published. It works the other way around. It's not based on the past and what you've done, or is it based on the future where you wonder about how you'll get there? You know, in Science of Mind, how is not a question we ever need to ask in life. The question is, who are you willing to be? Once you decide who you are, the how shows up. But, you know, most of us spend a lot of our times deciding who we are not. And I decided I'm going to give you a personal example. I'm embarrassed to talk about this, but it's Valentine's Day, so I'll share it anyway. And Those of you who know a little bit about my background, I actually spent 16 years of my life in a convent. And when I came out, I did so with the intention of being in a committed love relationship. And for over 20 years or so, I wanted, and the emphasis on wanting, to be in a relationship. I prayed about the relationship, but I kept being the person who couldn't and didn't have it. And I was teaching a class one day, and someone talked about the qualities that they saw in themselves as a wife. And I remember saying, a wife? Oh, I never liked that word. Because if I wanted to be married to a man, I'd have to be a wife, wouldn't I? You know, I've been having a lot of fun lately in exploring what that means to me. And I got a lot of insight. I've gotten the very thing I've been saying I want. I began to ask, so what does a wife look like? I never wanted to be what I saw in the relationships of my childhood. And I come from an Italian household, and in an Italian household, the man gives the orders to jump and the woman says, how high on the way up? You know, my dad actually told me that once, and that's the way it is. I decided very early on, I will never do that. And I still won't. I'm not suggesting that I'm choosing to be that. I rejected that model, but I never found one that replaced it. So it's the model that I continue to see. And I kept saying, I don't want that. What do I want to be? So I became not wife, anything but wife. And so, of course, I couldn't be in a relationship with a husband. See what I mean? You know, I'm going to leave that for a moment. I think I've said enough. But you get the idea. We look at what it is we think we want. I remember reading something from Joan Borisenko, who's a fabulous teacher, and she always said, I decided I'm not my mother. And so she said, I didn't marry a doctor, I became one. You know, we all do things like that in our lives. And when we've been given the power to choose who we'll be. And there's a great deal more power and magic in the choice than we have yet to discover. So whatever problem you're facing in your life, and probably every one of us here has a problem right now in our life, that seems to be the way life goes, ask yourself, who am I being in relationship to the problem? And see if you can make another choice. Because only when you choose to be the one who can have the solution will the problem begin to dissolve and disappear. And, you know, many of us, unfortunately, like being the ones with the problems. I know that sounds weird, but we define ourselves. We give ourselves labels. Look at the words you say after you say the word I am. I am sick and tired of this. Is that who you really are? Oh, I can't afford that. You know, is that how God expresses in you? I can't do that. We define ourselves over and over again. Our power lies in the ability to choose who we will be. The same applies in groups as well as individuals. You know, this is an interesting thought. New Thought defines itself as a non-denominational church. Isn't that interesting? We're saying what we're not. I'm not a wife, I'm not a mother, I'm not any of those denominations. But our power only comes when we truly define who we are. I think we have a large task ahead of us still. And a spiritual center has made a good beginning when it has an outward focused mission statement. I'm going to suggest one right now. We're a caring community for spiritual growth and transformation, inviting people to awaken their passion and power to make a difference. I'm taking a course right now on integral ministry, and they express it even more simply and say, what is your reason for being? Why does your center exist? And rather than talk about a mission statement, we can talk about our evolutionary purpose. And I'd like to suggest you try this one on. It's very simple. Transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. Transforming lives, starting with my own and our own. And once your life isn't transformed, you then want to make a positive difference in other people's lives. That's a powerful way, I think, to begin, and it's exciting. You know, remember what I said, I love curiosity and possibility. So I want to close that as I open today. And the fact that I do believe in God. I believe in an ever-evolving, ever-creating power that's creating something new in us and in our world. I strongly believe that what I've spoken about here today and so much more is very possible. And I know that there's somewhere in the country that there's a congregation ready and willing to be the model of this new kind of center and church. And from what I've seen here and know of all of you, I truly believe that you can be that congregation. So I invite you now to join me in prayer as we accept these possibilities and realities in our life. And so at this moment, I recognize and know that all there is love. And I choose to call love God. And as I know that truth, I know that God is total freedom and total responsibility. And I accept that those are my superpowers and those of each and every one of us here, that we are free and fully responsible for everything in our lives, not to blame, but to take the authority to know, to be clear of who we are. And this day I let go of all the shoulds in my life. And I truly make commitments. And I allow others to encourage and call me to them so I can be truly responsible. I know, and I want each of us to know in our deepest hearts that we are ministers. We together are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a people called and consecrated by God. And so this day, I accept that truth. I accept that everything that appears in my life is gift. I accept that all the things that happen are here for love and for good. And I accept that I am called to serve and to give my gifts to the best of my ability. And so I give thanks. I know in faith that as I come today, I'm curious about what I and we can become. I believe in possibility more than I have ever done before. I come in faith believing. I know that life is done to me according to my belief, and I do believe. And as I let this word be, I ask you to join me in saying, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Reverend Toni. That was beautiful. So in our recognizing that prosperity within us and the resources that we have available, sharing that with the center to continue to expand. In the chat, you can find ways to contribute. And so I'd like to read together our prosperity affirmation for February. Every need and desire is met through the fulfillment of love, and good flows through life abundantly. I will pass my abundance, my gifts, my love to Vicki as she takes the offering for today.
And I receive this flow of the offering from Reverend Toni through Katrina knowing that the word has already been spoken, received by the law, and acted upon, made manifest, and manifest tenfold in this incredible environment that we share today. Thank you to each one of you as expressions and emergent of the divine. And so I let it be, and so it is.
And so it is. So our announcements for today. For 2022, an important reminder is that if you donated to the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living in 2020 through the PayPal Giving Fund, you'll receive an email notification from PayPal. However, if you've donated in any other form of check, Zelle, or through the regular PayPal, we will be sending you a snail mail donation to verify that you contributed for the year. Our men's group will be meeting this Thursday, February 16th at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then our guest speaker is Reverend Catherine Knox. She's going to be discussing curiosity as a catalyst for change. And Reverend Catherine is the School of Spiritual Leadership Dean from the Orlando campus. So we are so excited and blessed to have her join us next week. In our community, we have an opportunity for each of us to suggest songs for our Sunday service. Some of us are musicians, some of us just have a passion for music, and sharing those suggestions is greatly appreciated. So please let us know if there's something special you'd like to share with our community that is musically oriented. And for Valentine's Day, we have such a deep love for each one of you. And from Vicki and Vernon and all of the practitioners, we wanted to share with you a special Valentine today. So please, let's start and experience this Valentine together. So from our heart to yours, we hope you have a happy Valentine's Sunday. Magnificent LSCL people. For this day, for tomorrow, for actual Valentine's Day, and for the whole week, may you give and receive with lavish energy and passion, knowing that you are loved and you are love. Hugs to each and every one of you from our LCSL leadership team. So from our heart to yours, we are so grateful to spend this day with you and to share the love that we have for you. Hopefully you can feel that love from each one of us and embody it and know it this week coming ahead. So don't forget, after the sharing time today, after the benediction, there will be sharing time today for each of us to connect via Zoom. So please stick around so we can connect. And remember that you are completely loved and you are magnificent. So our closing song for today is What Love Needs by Denise Rosier.
wear a rainbow in the month of June. Put a quote on my car window about the good I wanna do. I could buy a poster praising everybody's worth. Take a picture by a waterfall and prove I care about the earth. To show I know what love means, that's who I could be. What love needs is my voice speaking from my truth. What love needs is showing up, knowing what is mine to do. What love needs are hands and feet. What love needs is me. I could circle holy places to visit when I can, pin a ribbon on my overcoat, raise another flag. I could cheer the loudest for someone else's work, tell the youth to go forward and heal the world of hurt. To show I know how love moves, that's what I could do. What love needs is my voice speaking from my truth. What love needs is showing up, knowing what is mine to do. What love needs are hands and feet. What love needs is me. We'll never find a brighter light than the one shining as our lives. When one of us stands, we all rise. What love needs is my voice speaking from my truth. What love needs is showing up, knowing what is mine to do. What love needs are hands and feet. What love needs is, what love needs is, what love needs is me. What love needs is me. What love needs is me.
Read with me, if you will, out loud. I'm suggesting our benediction. Holy Spirit, Mother, Father, God, this year I pray to live deeply with purpose, to live freely with detachment, to live wisely with humility, to live justly with compassion, to live lovingly with fidelity, to live mindfully with awareness, to live gratefully with generosity, to live fully with enthusiasm. Help me to hold the vision and to daily renew it in my heart, becoming ever more one with you, my truest self. Amen. And happy Valentine's Day.